Welcome to Bump Set Chat, the podcast where volleyball professionals come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today, from the University of Hawaii, Guilherme Voss. Welcome to Bump Set Chat, the volleyball podcast for volleyball professionals, coaches, players to come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today I'm super excited from the University of Hawaii, I have Guilherme Voss. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
The way we start things off on the podcast is a few random questions. So you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite thing to cook?
My favorite meal is stroganoff, but I'm not that good at making it.
Okay.
So probably I'm best at making steak.
All right. Now, are you like a raw guy or like medium rare or fully cooked?
Yeah, like medium rare to less cooked.
Yeah. All right. Second question. So when you go back home to Brazil, what's your meal you look forward to the most?
I feel like, so açaí is originally Brazilian, right? So I just feel like açaí there is better than here in the US. It's just done a little differently. I can't really explain it.
Okay. And final question. What's the best thing about a road trip?
I think just the amount of time that we get to spend more unified and together, since we're all at the hotel together, practicing together, we really spend a lot of time just with each other.
Yeah, it's a nice bond you guys created over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. All right. So welcome to the podcast. So first of all, how are you guys feeling about rolling into the postseason?
I mean, I know that we have a very competent team that when everything's clicking, it's very hard for other teams to stop us. So I'm excited to see if we can pull that off.
Excellent. All right. So where are you from and what are you studying?
So I'm originally from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. And right now I'm finishing my degree in mechanical engineering.
Nice. All right. So, looking through your volleyball accolades, you've got, 2 NCAA championships in your first couple years at UH, under 21 world champion, best middle blocker at the world champions. That's a nice accomplishment right there.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's really, I've had the honor of playing with some of the best athletes around at our age. So,
yeah. Now, when you first started picking up the ball, did you think this is where it'd take you right now?
No, I mean, I've never thought about where it would take me to be specific. I would just play for fun.
Yeah. And now, speaking of playing, when did you first pick up the game?
I think it was when I was 11. I started playing a little bit of beach volleyball because I just lived very close to the beach in Rio. And then I transitioned over to indoor.
Okay. And now where does indoor rank in the, with the other sports back home?
I'd say that soccer is by far the most popular sport in Brazil, but volleyball could be a second, if not tied with some of the other less traditional ones. Like we're very good at jiu-jitsu, serve, stuff like that.
Yeah. And now, you said you started playing at 11. Back then, are you playing like volleyball in school or, playing at clubs? What's the sort of the path to play volleyball back home?
Yeah, so in Brazil, there's not really that much school athletics or college athletics, so it's all pretty much club.
Okay. And then, what is the hook volleyball has on you, versus the other sports, soccer or basketball or,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just like other athletes, we like winning and stuff like that. And at first, when I picked up volleyball, I wasn't the greatest, but at least I had potential. And from then on, it was just a lot of positivity coming from the sport, a lot of winning, a lot of competing. That just kept drawing me back to it.
Okay. And speaking of a hook, what do you enjoy more? When you get that one-on-one roof block or you drop that serve on somebody and it just hits nothing but the floor?
I think because I'm a middle blocker, blocking is just more rewarding.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So, what are the options back home to, like back home when you're done, when you grow up and go to finish school, what are your options to play volleyball? Do you, like you said, there's not much at the college level?
Yeah, so at the college level, there's not really any level of serious athletics. But the adult championship for what we would have the NBA here in the US, the national league there in Brazil is reasonably strong. And then there are leagues in Europe as well that I could look at playing at.
Yeah. And then, we talked about a little earlier that you played for the U21 World Championship. What was that experience like?
I mean, yeah, that was wonderful being able to go. We flew all the way to Bahrain in the Middle East to play
Oh
the
wow.
championships, and it was just a great group of individuals.
And now, when did you pop up on the radar for the national team?
So at the time, I played during my youth for both of the youth national teams, the U19 and U21. So that one was with the U21. So I think the first year that I popped up on their radar was 2016. I played basically what was the national championships where you represent your state,
Mm-hmm.
and we won that. And then I got called up to practice with the youth national team.
Oh wow. And what was those first practices like? Where you're like, holy cow, this is next level right here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just being surrounded by that much talent, you really need to up your game every moment that you can to be able to keep up with everyone.
Yeah. And now, when you started playing against other countries, I had Chaz Galloway on a few weeks ago, and he was talking about when you guys did that road trip to Japan, the
Mm.
style of play they played was like not what you're used to. And did you see sort of the different styles from different countries you played when you did the World Championships?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. For example, in South America, our neighbors, Argentina, will be much more like technically better at like digging and controlling the ball, so it's just very hard to score points on them. But then if you normally look at, we have like larger, more powerful players, so it would be just a battle of offense versus defense for the
Yeah.
most part in South America.
Oh, okay. And then, when you were looking at universities, what made you, pick, Hawaii from, all the way from Brazil?
Yeah, I hadn't looked into the university scene too much here in the US. So when I started looking into it and saw what Hawaii had been ranked for the past couple of years and everything else, the community that's around here, all the support that the team gets, it was an easy choice.
Oh, wow. And now, did you take a trip here to check out the island and the campus before, going all in?
No, I just trusted and came already to start classes in August.
Oh, wow. And now, what was the recruitment process like? Was there any other schools that popped up on the radar or tried to get you to go there?
Yeah, I talked to a couple other schools like the BYU and JIT, a couple schools in Canada as well, but Hawaii just felt like the best choice for me.
Nice. Yeah. Being from Canada, I'm not sure you would have liked the temperature, going up, a little bit further north of the border.
Yeah. While being on the team, we've traveled to a couple places, including this year when we went to Indiana to play Purdue. It was snowing there. But just in other times in my past, I've also just been to ski station and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, you a winter fan, winter sports fan at all?
Not good at it.
Yeah.
I'm more of going there just to sit in the hot tub or by the fire and
Nice.
enjoy the warmth.
Yeah. Give you the beach any day.
Yeah.
So, when you came to Hawaii that first year, I think it was when I had Spyros on, you guys were both at the same time, and it was the COVID year.
Yeah, so I came with Chaz fall 2019, and
Okay.
then COVID hit, and then we came back the next year when Spyros was a freshman.
And what was that whole experience like of, first of all, your first year dealing with COVID, new country, and, all the things that go along with, going to college?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a hard reset on everything since right as it hit, after a couple weeks, I just decided to go back home and spent, I think, 7 months at home in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a hard reset on the whole college experience.
Yeah. And now, when you came back, and started practicing with the guys and playing the games, what did the level compare to from like the U21 or back home?
Yeah, I mean, national team is just a whole different level, but there's absolutely so much talent here at UH, especially in these past years that I've been here with players like Rado, Gage, Jakob, Spyros, Dimi, all the wonderful players that I've played with.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that leads into the next question. Being, coming here as a freshman and being around, that talent and the leadership that was here. Did they pass along any great advice or lessons you learned from them that helped you become one of the leaders of the team?
Yeah, I think that in Hawaii, we tend to just kind of lead by example more than by voice. So it's more so we see them doing things the way that they are doing, and being role models and being excellent players, and we just strive to be like them when we get to our senior year.
Yeah. And then, speaking of the senior year, you started off, like we mentioned earlier, two national championships. What have been some of the highlights from your journey here at UH?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that I've gotten to start since my freshman year means that there's a little bit too many good times to talk about, if that's even a bad thing. But no, there have absolutely been some highlights, like the last match before COVID canceled the year against BYU, where we had a full house, our final in the Big West and in the NCAA's against Long Beach. Those were all just like breathtaking matches. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then, speaking of playing full of, in front of a full house and then coming back and playing in front of nobody, that's not I can't imagine an easy thing to adjust to.
Yeah, it made for some comical moments because people would start putting cardboard cutouts in the audience or playing crowd noise as we're playing to try and simulate a little bit of a competitive environment,
Yeah,
but it was certainly different.
yeah. And then, over the years, what have been some of the, harder things or tougher things to get used to, playing, balancing, going to school, playing at an elite D1 school as well?
Yeah, for sure, being able to balance the degree that I'm in with playing has been one of the harder things, especially when I was doing some of the harder classes like thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were a little bit harder to manage.
For that 17-year-old kid back home in Brazil or over in Europe that's thinking about coming to the States or coming to UH to want to, get their education and play ball, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, no, absolutely come because I feel like, especially in Brazil, there isn't the opportunity for you to get this level of education and playing at the same time. The US is really the only place that you can get it right now, as far as I know. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And, looking back on the 4 years you've been there, if you could go back to, first year G and have some advice for him, what would you say to him?
Yeah, I mean, just don't stress the little stuff because at the end of the day, everything ends up working out. I think that I may have put a little bit too much stress, especially during my middle years where I had those harder classes and we were fighting for top seed and stuff like that. There was just a lot going on at the same time.
Yeah. And now, with men's volleyball being a sort of a winter sport, when you guys get here in the fall, you have a few months to sort of get back together. What are those first few practices like when everybody gets together and finally, start hitting some balls?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to get in as early as we can. So some people get in during the later months of summer and already start attending open gyms together so that we can try and get the ball rolling earlier so that because by the time we actually get to practices, the coaches are already going 100%.
Yeah. And then, speaking of the coaches, I had Capono on a few months ago, and he was telling you that, this past November, the guys had exhibition matches over in Japan. How was that experience?
Yeah, no, that was wonderful. Just seeing the amount of support that both their team and our team got in Japan. People were so friendly with us and just so welcoming. It was a great experience.
Yeah. And, when Chaz was on, he said you guys played a collegiate team and a pro team. What were those matches like?
Yeah, absolutely. You could see the level of maturity and just wisdom that the pro team showed while playing us and just making little mistakes, being just very efficient.
Yeah.
And then the difference between that match and us playing the university team where we were both kind of on level playing ground.
Yeah. Nice. And then, looking back on that trip, what were some of the highlights or moments that you're like, wow, that was cool, or that was some really good food?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I right now we have a friend of ours that's living over there and playing for that pro team that we scrimmaged against Cole Hogland, and
Oh, okay.
it was just yeah, it was just really nice being able to spend some time with him, run into him again.
Yeah. And now what's, did he give you guys any feedback on how he's enjoying it over there? Is it, is he trying to convince, hey, you guys should come along?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would love to go play in Japan. Right now they have a foreigner rule that makes it a little bit hard unless you're a absolutely killer player to be hired there if you're not Japanese. But if they change that rule anytime in the future, I'm already there.
Nice. And now, when it comes to sort of, getting ready for a game, do you have any pregame ritual or routine, music playlist you get amped up for?
No, I don't have too many things that I worry about before the game. The only thing is I tend to get hungry very fast during the day. So I always need to have something to be snacking on during games, or else I'll just start running out of energy
Yeah.
mid-game.
And what are you snacking on?
My personal favorite is just getting granola clusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And now, being an international player as a senior, and you have other international players on, how do you sort of, what advice do you have for them when they first come in? Do they look to you to have, for guidance? Because, first of all, they're in the States, new culture, maybe new language, and Hawaii has its own culture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was gonna say is Hawaii has its own identity and its own culture, and I just tell them to enjoy it as much as they can because it really is different here than it is anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. And then, as sort of an elite athlete, it's not just physical, it's also the mental. You got to keep on your game mentally. What do you do to help sort of keep focused and, not get in your own head?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to be too hard on myself because that's the biggest area where I've had troubles in the past is me just demanding too much of myself.
Yeah.
So between that and trying to reduce other stressors in my life, I feel like I do a pretty good job of it.
Nice. And then, speaking of stressors, when Spyros went down, that was just, that must have been a blow to you guys. Now, how did you guys adjust and, sort of battle back and continue on because you lost his talent along with his leadership?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, we have a lot of leadership in the sense of like people do their job well and therefore we rely on them.
Yeah.
So that was a part of our team going down, but I knew that we had the missing pieces on the bench that we could build a good team around still. So right now we're working to get that going as well as we possibly can.
Nice. And any particular guys that you have impressed you coming off the bench and stepped into that role?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Keone and Louis have been coming in at times and participating in the outside spot, and they're both wonderful players.
Yeah, nice. What are some of the things, as a middle blocker, what are some of the little things that sort of helped you become better with your blocking?
Yeah, absolutely. Becoming just faster and more physical as you get to the collegiate level, hitting the weight room helps a lot.
Yeah.
Not just with that, but also with the stronger you are, the less injuries you tend to suffer. So for sure, getting stronger as I got to college was something that helped me a lot.
Yeah. And then I got a question from a high school player. What are some common mistakes or misconceptions, players make when learning to become a middle blocker?
Um, yeah, there's a lot of people that will just hyper focus on some specific areas. Like, for example, for a lot of years, I neglected the defensive side of being a middle blocker because I would just be a really good attacker and that kept me on the court. So just being able to work on both your offense and defense and serve and every part of your game
Yeah.
and being able to be all rounder is much more valuable than just being a very good attacker and then bad at everything else.
Yeah. Any drills or exercises that you share that have been particularly effective for, helping your strength or agility when it comes to being a middle blocker?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, since I'm more of in a recovery period of the year, we're just trying to keep our body going until the end. I'm doing more isometric and just recovery based exercises like Spanish squats, banded TKEs, stuff like that, front squats with like a lighter load. But during season, it really is just putting on muscle, anything that you can to try and get yourself as strong physically as possible.
Yeah. And now, being a senior, the coaches can't, load you up with drills next year. What is the drill you hate the most?
Mm, I think that at times we'll try and do a transition drill where basically you'll be on the net and the coach tosses the ball to the setter as you're on the net. You need to try to get off the net as soon as possible to go back and hit. And at times they force it a little bit too much where by the time I'm getting off the net, the setter's already setting the ball. So it can be exhausting. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. When Spyros was on, he hated anything to do with running. I guess one of your coaches loves to make you guys run.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a big fan of it.
Yeah. And now during the course of the year, were there any dates that are circled that you guys are like, we can't wait for that game, or anything that, any other events along the year that you guys are fired up for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's already passed, but the Outrigger Invitational this year was for sure a very strong tournament. I mean, we had us, Irvine, GCU, and Lewis, which are all really high level teams. So we were very excited to face them.
Yeah. And you guys won that, the Outrigger tournament, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Nice. And now, another sort of a new thing that's been popped up in the last couple of years is the whole NIL, name, image, and likeness. What's your take on it? Is it a good thing for the collegiate athlete to be able to tap into?
Yeah, I absolutely think that it's a positive thing for the collegiate athlete to tap into. I think that volleyball needs to get a little bit more attention before it becomes too much of a relevant thing
Mm-hmm.
in men's volleyball, because right now a lot of the players can't really take advantage of it that well.
Oh, okay. Now, is there a reason they can't take advantage of it, or they just don't know enough about it to go for it?
It's more so because just like athletic sponsorships, you'll see like Messi do an ad, but you won't see your like second division club player do an ad. So a lot of the brands will be going after the D1 football players, basketball players, women's volleyball players,
Yeah.
which leaves a little bit less attention towards men's volleyball.
Gotcha. Okay. And now, here's a sort of a fun question. When I had Eric Shoji on, and him and Taylor Averill had what's the toughest position in volleyball?
Mm.
And Taylor is a middle blocker. That was his choice. What's your take? What do you think is the toughest position in volleyball, from a mental aspect first, and then from a physical aspect?
I think from a physical aspect, I would have to say middle, just because of the sheer amount of jumping, running, and just work that you have to do in order to be even decent at your job.
Yeah.
But from a mental standpoint, I think setter, to be able to coordinate a good offense, regardless of how well your other players are doing, how well your passing is doing, is really just impressive.
Yeah. All right. And now, for that freshman that's coming in next year, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I say to just try and see what the seniors are doing, see how you can improve based on them, and just try to get that improvement in every day. You can ask them questions. I'm sure that most people would be glad to help the new kids out.
Yeah, nice. And now, with the seasons, close to being over, end of your college career, what's going to be the next phase for you?
Hopefully, I'll be playing pro next year. So I still have to see exactly where that would be, but hopefully somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, that'd be your preferred destination.
Yeah.
Nice. And now, what are you going to miss the most from when you pack up and fly away from Hawaii?
I mean, the players that I've spent this much time around already are for sure going to be one of the things that I'll miss the most. The fans being able to just walk over to the supermarket and someone recognizes me. The community that Hawaii men's volleyball has built here is just very, like, unlike anything else in the world.
Yeah. And speaking of the fans, you guys draw a lot of people out. It sounds like it's a fantastic place to play and also attend a volleyball match in.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when we're not playing in Hawaii, I remember a couple years ago in Stanford, we had three-fourths of the stands filled up with Hawaii fans.
Oh, no
So,
way.
yeah.
Nice. And now, are there any particular people you want to thank, in Hawaii, as you, sort of pack up?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Here in Hawaii, I am very thankful for the coaching staff to have given me the opportunity to play here, and all the people who support the program, and just not in Hawaii, but that were helpful, as well as the coaches that have guided me in the past, my parents who have given me all the opportunities possible, and right now my girlfriend who's just with me every step of the way.
Nice. And then, speaking of coaches, any message to the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, other than thank you and good luck in the future years.
Nice. And then, to those players that you're leaving behind, you're passing the torch on to the next leaders. What advice do you have for them?
I mean, to trust themselves. This is a very talented program, and each year we get more and more talent. I'm sure that this won't be where our program starts going down just because our senior class is leaving. There's so much talent still in the program, and these players can go even beyond where we went.
Nice. And then, when you're not on the court, what are some of the things you like to enjoy? You enjoy doing?
I'm a big food guy, so I love cooking, love eating, love traveling. I try to travel at least once a year to somewhere I haven't been.
Yeah. What's next? What's the next destination you'd like to get to?
I really want to try and go either Morocco or Egypt. I
Yeah.
haven't been to either of those places. This summer, I'm just going to be going to Brazil because of how senior year is working out and the amount of time that I've been able to spend with my family, but hopefully next year.
Nice. And then, what do you look forward to most when you go home? Seeing family
Uh,
or just, just home?
yeah, I mean, just that feeling of home, of knowing that you don't have to worry about anything, I think is the most rewarding thing. I can just go home, lay in bed, wake up at 1 p.m., know that I'm not missing anything, I'm not worrying about anything.
Yeah. And are you a big beach fan? Enjoying the playing beach?
I like playing beach, but I like when there's four-man beach tournaments. I'm not a huge fan of the two-man format.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right. Well, hey, G, thank you so much for doing this podcast. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Before you go, though, as with past guests, I asked them to shout out somebody who you think has a great volleyball story to come on. Somebody, a teammate or a coach or somebody in your volleyball circle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that someone that would probably have a really good story to share would be Brett Sheward, the current setter for UCI, since he's gone from setter back to libero, back to setter, transferred programs. He's been through a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
places at this point.
All right. And how did you guys cross paths? Just from playing against each other?
Yeah, so he had been on the team in Hawaii for the past 4 years when I was there.
Yeah.
And like I said, he was a setter at first, and then he was our libero for the 2 years that we won the tournament. And then this year he transitioned back to setter and transferred to UCI so that he could be a setter there.
Oh, wow. Setter was his calling, is it?
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent. All right, G. Well, hey, good luck, for the rest of the year, and good luck for next season, whatever that may hold for you. I really appreciate you coming on.
Alrighty, thank you for having me on.